Welcome to Pharmacology Insights, where we break down complex pharmacology into simple, easy to understand concepts. We all know what pain feels like. But what's really happening inside the body when we hurt? And how do painkillers stop it? Let's break it down. First, we'll trace the pathway of pain transmission. Then, we'll see how three major drug classes, paracetamol, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and opioids, block pain in different ways. This is the pathway involved in pain transmission and regulation. When tissue is injured, say from a cut, burn, or sprain, cells release an enzyme called phospholipase A2. This enzyme turns cell membrane lipids into arachidonic acid. Then cyclooxygenase enzymes, COX-1 and COX-2, convert arachidonic acid into prostaglandins, chemical messengers that shape the pain response. In the injured tissue, prostaglandins sensitize nociceptors, the specialized nerve endings that detect pain. This makes the nerves fire more easily, so even mild stimulation can hurt. Prostaglandin also drives inflammation, increasing blood flow and making tissue red, swollen, and tender. When nociceptors are activated at the injury site, they send electrical signals through peripheral nerves into the spinal cord. At the first synapse in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, these pain fibers release chemical messengers, mainly glutamate, substance P, and calcitonin gene-related peptide, or CGRP. These neurotransmitters carry the pain message forward to the next neuron, pushing the signal upward toward the brain. But the spinal cord isn't just a passive relay station. The arrival of pain signals also activates COX-2 in neurons and glial cells, which increases the production of prostaglandin E2, or PGE2. This prostaglandin makes spinal neurons more excitable, lowering their threshold and amplifying the effects of glutamate, substance P, and CGRP. The result is central sensitization, where the spinal cord becomes extra responsive and pain feels more intense. Meanwhile, in the brain, prostaglandins play an additional role. Under normal conditions, they help regulate body temperature in the hypothalamus. But during infection or injury, cytokines and nerve input increase COX-2 activity, producing more PGE2. This not only heightens the brain's perception of pain but also triggers fever. Paracetamol, or acetaminophen as it is known in the US, mainly acts in the brain and spinal cord, where it inhibits central COX enzyme. This reduces prostaglandin levels, lowering pain perception and controlling fever. But because paracetamol barely affects prostaglandin production in tissues, it has almost no anti-inflammatory effect. NSAIDs, like ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin, work both in the brain and at the site of injury. They block the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes that turn arachidonic acid into prostaglandins. When prostaglandin levels drop, the nerves that sense pain are less sensitive, so pain is reduced. At the same time, blood vessels don't widen as much, which means there's less redness and swelling. And because prostaglandins also act in the brain, lowering them helps bring down fever too. That's why NSAIDs are considered true pain and inflammation fighters. Opioids, such as morphine, codeine, and fentanyl, don't target prostaglandins at all. Instead, they act on the final step of the pathway, how the brain and spinal cord process pain signals. They bind to opioid receptors on neurons in the spinal cord, brainstem, and pain-processing areas of the brain. These receptors normally respond to endorphins, our body's own painkillers. When either endorphins or opioid drugs activate these receptors, they block the release of pain-transmitting chemicals, mainly glutamate, substance P, and CGRP, which carry pain messages forward. In addition, postsynaptic Mu receptor activation hyperpolarizes second-order neurons, preventing them from firing easily and reducing the relay of pain signals to higher centers. With fewer signals transmitted, the brain perceives pain as weaker, less distressing, or sometimes barely there at all. So, think of your nervous system like a radio station broadcasting pain signals. Paracetamol is like turning down the volume knob on the receiver in the brain. The signal's still there, just quieter. NSAIDs act earlier, cutting down the static at the source so less pain and inflammation ever make it onto the airwaves. Opioids go further, they jam the signal entirely, blocking messages before they even reach the brain. Different strategies, same goal, making pain easier to live with. Of course, no painkiller is perfect. Each class comes with its benefits and drawbacks. Take paracetamol. It's gentle on the stomach, but in high doses, it can overwhelm the liver. That's why dosage limits are so strict, just a little too much can cause serious damage. NSAIDs, on the other hand, work well against inflammation, but there's a trade-off. By blocking COX-1, they also take away protective prostaglandins in the stomach and kidneys. That's what leads to problems like stomach ulcers, internal bleeding, and kidney issues, especially with long-term use. And opioids, while they're unmatched for severe pain, come with the heaviest baggage. They can slow down breathing, cause constipation and drowsiness, and with repeated use, the body adapts. Tolerance develops, higher doses are needed, and the risk of dependence and addiction becomes very real. To sum it up, each class of painkiller act at a different step of the pain pathway, and each carries its own risks. That's why doctors carefully match the drug to the type and severity of pain, always weighing relief against potential harm. So the next time you reach for a painkiller, you'll know exactly how it works, and why no two are the same. And that's it for today's pharmacology video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more pharmacology content.